You are listening to Bold Dreams Held Loosely, Visions Embodied. What does it mean to hold a bold dream loosely? It means imagining the wildest, most daring possible future for yourself and having the courage to set out toward it. It means faith in the process and in the destination that the journey makes possible that only takes shape as you journey toward it. It's being completely open to what life unfolds before you, trusting your internal compass will guide you to a place beyond your most wild imaginings. Visions Embodied is a collection of stories from way stations on the journey to self-actualization and becoming. We are all on different journeys, but we never walk alone. My name is Taryn Watts, and I am the founder of the MRA Academy. Inside this series, I hold space for the stories of MRA alumni who are courageously walking their path towards their dreams. Inside these conversations, they share the trials, tribulations, and triumphs of the road less traveled. Let these stories open your mind to what is possible. I am here with my guest, Serena Henry. Serena has been a professional singer for over 30 years, getting her start at the tender age of 8 years old as an actor in New York. She has toured with Gladys from 11 to 16 as a special guest vocalist in her show. Part of that tour was a televised performance in 1997 at the White House for former President Clinton, the First Lady, and 200 distinguished guests. Serena also toured with Smokey Robinson for 13 years. Just last year, Serena graced the stage with country singer Carrie Underwood at the 2022 Grammys. She has also worked with Debbie Gibson, Michael Bolton, and Donnie and Marie Osmond. Holy moly, Serena. During the pandemic, Serena embarked on fulfilling another passion of hers by enrolling in the MRA Academy and started her coaching practice, Intentional Roots Life Coaching. She has found a way to combine her two worlds to coach clients and help them lean into their power. Serena.
Hello, my love.
It is so good to be in your presence once again, my friend. It has been far too long.
It has been. And likewise, I'm so happy to see you.
So, Serena, let's take it from I don't want to say the beginning because, but what the beginning of your coaching journey, what led you to wanting to become a coach in the first place?
Wow. I love that question. I believe so many things. And I've shared this with you many times before, but life coaching and stepping into it was a dream deferred for probably like a good 10 years. I ran away from the idea of doing it. So many people had presented this to me in some way. By just saying like, I think you should be a life coach, a motivational speaker. And I'm like, really? No, I'm just a singer. This is what I do. This is what I've always done. This is what I know. But then that little inner knowing that always comes back to us just kept gnawing at my spirit and was like, hey, I think you should probably look at this. And then the pandemic happened and life in the world as we know it shut down completely. And my industry completely stopped, screeching halt. And for the first time in about 30 years, I wasn't on a stage. And I'm trying to think back to how I was feeling during that time. I think there was a level of uncertainty, maybe a small thing of fear in there, but I just knew that there was probably something else and something more. And then I started exploring the idea of becoming a life coach again, but with more of a like, okay, I could probably really do this now. Like, this is the perfect time. Nothing is happening. Why not go back to school? And so, my best friend Brittany, who was also part of my Rebel Academy, found you guys. She was like, you have to meet Taryn. You'll fall in love with her. And I did. You had me at hello.
Oh.
And I was like, I have to be a part of this program. And so I just dove in.
Yeah. Amazing. Serena, I remember that time for you. You're in Vegas.
Mhm.
So when you say everything shut down in the pandemic, everything shut down. Like Vegas was
Everything.
a ghost town.
Complete ghost town.
And so that jump to say yes, that was it's really dawning on me right now. I think I knew that at the time, but it's what's really dawning on me right now is that jump to say yes.
Mm-hmm.
That was a massive leap of faith for you.
Yes, it was. Yeah, and I think that's almost an understatement. Like when I told you I dove in not knowing what to expect.
Right.
Yeah.
People, what you said was people had been approaching you your whole life, like you should be a coach or a
Yeah.
motivational speaker. And I think that's such tell us a little bit more about that.
I laugh at it because it's so interesting that I landed in this place now because I was running away from it. And it's not that I didn't know what a life coach was, probably not in depthly, until I stepped into Mind Rebel Academy. But I was listening to different life coaches before, like Tony Robbins and Ayanna Van Zandt. I'm personal friends with Les Brown, who's like motivational speaker to everyone. Um, but I just didn't believe that this is something that I can do and step into, right? Again, I felt like this was my one purpose in life, which was to be a singer and entertainer. And I'd done it for so long, since 8 years old. And so stepping into the unknown was scary and it was daunting, but I just knew it was something that I needed to do open-heartedly.
Yeah. What did it's jumping in, what did you have to let go of?
Mm. Lord, so much. I mean, as you know, when I entered Mind Rebel, I was on the heels of grief. And I tell this story all the time. And I think this is a very important component to my journey into Mind Rebel and stepping into coaching. Um, I had lost my best friend of 20 years. He passed away from COVID. And then a month into practitioner training, I lost my grandmother who I was helping to care for. So, like, two monumental moments happened in my life back to back. And I remember something that you said in the beginner of practitioner training, like, no matter where you are in this moment, just make the commitment to show up for yourself. And that stuck with me. And so every Thursday, I just showed up in my brokenness, in my sadness, in my depression. And it was a way for me to honor my best friend and honor my grandmother, but also honor the commitment to do this and not say no and not let anything be an excuse to not pursue this. And so that's kind of where I was at the moment, just like, holy shit, this is a lot. This is a lot, but I'm still gonna move forward and plow through this moment.
Yeah. Your was there a moment where you started to, or moment that maybe you recall, or maybe it was just over a progression of months, but where you started to recognize that, like, I can do this.
Mm,
And not only can I do this, but I am extraordinary at this.
mm, mhm, mhm. I'm trying to recall a moment. I think there were several moments, and I think some of those moments came through my conversations with you, just the
Yeah.
reflections back, right? Um, when you're stepping into something that you feel like you have no idea what to do or what you're doing, and then you're reminded that you have all these skills and these attributes. Let them shine, explore them deeply, and don't be afraid to do that. I think it was just having that permission to explore
Mm,
that I learned in the Mind Rebel Academy during practitioners training. That was so, to me, that was like the game changer. And that's when I said to myself, oh, I am capable. I can do this. And obviously, there's still moments of question.
yeah.
There's still moments of doubt that creep up, and you're like, oh man, that little
Yeah.
voice is coming back in.
Yeah. Do you remember the vision you had casted in part one of the coach training series in that practitioner training? Do you remember that vision that everyone goes through this process of crafting their life vision
Mm.
but doing it from a seat of their authentic self,
Mhm.
right? Doing it
Mhm.
from that really aligned place and asking yourself, what is the boldest, most breathtaking vision I could imagine for
Mm.
my life? Do you
Mhm.
remember that?
I think I remember bits and pieces, when I started practitioners training, that was, God, 3 years ago. Can you believe that?
Yeah. Yeah, no,
3
I can't.
years ago, and
Yeah.
there's been so many versions of myself
Right. And
since then.
iterations of it. Yes.
Yes, and it's ever evolving and ever changing. But I think the vision that I had for myself at that time was just to lean into this process. I think I was only allowing myself to think and live in the moment of it. And
Yeah.
there were parts of going through the program where then I started to see the vision, like I started to see that bigger version of myself, that bolder version. And I don't know if I was doing that prior to practitioners training,
Right.
allowing myself to dream that big. I've done that with music, and I know that. But stepping into this world and having new dreams and visions, that was definitely new to me.
Yeah. So what's your vision? What's the vision? Actually, before I ask that question, I want to ask you, what is life in Serena's life? What does life look like today?
Oh man, life has been a roller coaster. It's been a roller coaster. And like I said, this was going to be a very authentic and honest conversation. And um, but I would say most of 2022 leading into 2023, I was dealing with many shifts that I did not expect. And it kind of started leading up to 40. I turned 40 last year. I just turned 41 2 weeks ago. And there was such a great anticipation about turning 40. Like I was so excited to turn 40. And then 40 hit, and something about the reality of 40 was uncomfortable for me in a lot of
Mm,
ways. And I started to unravel emotionally in ways that I didn't anticipate. Um, and now, sitting with that and being able to sit with that the past year, some truths have been revealed, some things that I thought I had healed from, and when you're doing this kind of work, holy shit, life mirrors back to you in so
mhm.
many ways. And it's like, I thought I dealt with that already.
I know. At lightning speed too,
Yes,
right? It's
yes.
like, oh.
And just when you think you're catching your breath from like the
Just when you
last
think you've
storm,
got it. Yeah.
life is like, nope, wait a minute. I'm going to give you something else. And so I think for somebody like me who presents to the world a certain way, and those things are true about me. Like I'm joyful, I'm effervescent, I live life with a positive attitude. But internally, there were some shifts that were happening.
Mhm.
And I almost felt like a pressure cooker, right? But instead of exploding, I imploded.
Mm.
And that was hard for me initially. So fast forward to today.
Sorry, before you
Yes,
go to today, what do
yes.
you mean by imploded? What is that? What is it? Tell me what that means.
Oh man, I'm trying to put it into words, right? It's more of a feeling where
Yeah.
so much of me mentally and emotionally was starting to shut down, and physically,
Mm.
like my body was starting to shut down in a lot of ways because I was carrying so much emotionally that I wasn't able to unpack, right? So going back to practitioners training where we talk about name it, feel it, shift it,
Yeah.
I've I've been in feel it phase for like a good year.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and it's been scary and it's been messy and complicated, but it's been beautiful at the same time, right? I always try to find what is the lesson that God is trying to deliver here, right? And that through my messiness, through my moments of brokenness, there's beauty in there, right? If I'm really, really paying attention, if I'm really listening and sitting with it instead of running away from it, there is beauty there.
Mm. I also know you are an incredibly spiritual woman. Your
Hmm.
relationship to God
Hmm.
is incredibly important to
Yes,
you.
yes.
How that year of implosion,
Hmm.
how did your relationship with, like, tell me about the relationship with God in that?
Mm. There was definitely more of an anchoring to God, right? I always say that I find God in nature. I feel God in nature. I see God in nature. So there was a lot more moments of grounding and connecting and lots of tears and lots of honest conversations with God, right? And moments of silence,
Hmm.
saying nothing at all and just listening and waiting for those whispers. And that's probably the hardest part. Is just waiting.
Mm.
The waiting and the listening, like, okay, what next? What
Hmm.
next? Yeah.
Yeah. What a tender, vulnerable time.
Yeah. Yeah. But a needed time, right? And I think I said this in the second phase of my coaching program that vulnerability had now become my superpower, right? I thought it was my strength, and I still pride myself on being a very, very strong person. And I feel like my strength has allowed me to persevere and get through some really, really dark moments. But also my vulnerability, like tapping into that and wearing that as my cape now and allowing that to come to the forefront of who I am as a person, boy, that has really, really served me. But sitting with that has been uncomfortable too, right? Because
Mm,
you can't be vulnerable with everybody.
right. And I can also imagine going through that and going through all this internal implosion and being on stage,
Yes.
being on massive stages
Hmm. Hmm.
must have been, ooh, must have taken, like, those moments to really show up on
Hmm.
stage must have taken an enormous amount of energy and courage to even
Yes.
get up there in the implosion.
Yeah. Yes. 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 Very much so. Very much so. And I think there were moments when I even said to myself, I don't know if I could do it today.
Yeah,
I don't know if I want to do it today,
right.
and still finding the courage and the energy to still do it.
So, what was the shift? What shifted and when and what happened? Was there a moment? Was it a, what happened?
Hmm. I think it was just an amalgamation of moments. And they all came at like rapid succession.
Oh, okay, tell me more.
Oh man. Where do
Tell
I
me
begin?
everything.
Tell you everything. Okay, let me see. Where my Kleenex? I always end up crying with you. We're not doing this today, Taryn. I love to cry. I do. Love to cry.
Me too.
Well, one of the things that happened, which I'm very comfortable sharing with you, is I lost my hair last year, right? So that
Mhm.
was just one thing that happened. But that was like after a series of things, and I'm like, yeah, I'm done. I'm tapped out. I can't do it anymore. I don't want to do it anymore. And something about the loss of hair, especially as a woman, there's such a deep impact that happens. Um, but I think it was also necessary, like I needed to shed, right? Not only my
Oof.
hair, but things emotionally, right? And I think the shift started happening slowly at that point because I knew that it was bigger than just my hair. Like my body was fighting something, my mind was fighting something, my spirit was fighting something. I felt like I was having this internal war constantly. And my hair was just like, okay, well, this has to go. But so does this. But then so does this. So it was many shifts that were occurring at the same time.
Wow, yeah. It's like this incredible shedding,
Yes. Yeah. Literally and
like a
figuratively.
drastic shedding.
Yeah. 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 And I'm still shedding. I'm
Mhm.
still shedding so much because as you know, healing is not linear
Right.
and it's an everyday process and there's a constant checking in and I allow myself to do that as often as possible and just being honest with people. Like, hey, I'm in
Yeah.
shedding season right now.
Yeah. It's
And it's
taking
messy.
everything. It's messy and it's taking everything to show up for this
Everything,
to yeah. Yeah.
everything. And it's been such a long process. And there's a part of me that's wanting to expedite the process. But the, again, going back to that inner knowing, feeling like, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be in this moment and it's uncomfortable, but let me not expedite this part. Let me not fast forward this part because I'm going to miss some things.
Mm. Yeah, you're not leaving here until it's
Yeah,
been excavated.
exactly. Exactly.
Um, hmm. So you kind of talked about 2022
Mhm.
and it sounds like it's still like we're still in the thick of the healing journey.
Yeah.
What does life look like today?
It has its moments, right? It's still beautiful, right? Even in the messy moments. And I
Yeah.
always cling on to that. And I thank God that I have that kind of faith because that keeps me anchored. That gives me hope. That gets me up in the morning. That allows me to have moments like this, these conversations that I live for, um, and other moments that I want to show up for. And so, even though I am shifting, shedding, healing, life is still beautiful in a lot of ways. And
Mm.
so, I always keep my eye on that every single day.
You know what I was so appreciate about this conversation is, um, from the outside looking in, it's so easy to think, well, look at her, like she's got it all figured out.
Yeah, yeah,
And but the truth is, like, life is incredibly messy.
yeah, it is. It is.
We talk a lot about the expansions and the contractions of
Hmm.
growth, of life, of walking your truest path.
Mm,
And walking your truest path means feeling your truest emotions,
yeah,
sitting with yourself, being with yourself, not suppressing anymore.
yeah,
Like everything you just said, like allowing it to all be. And geez, there can be some really, really challenging points in our journey.
yeah, yeah,
And when you zoom out, it looks beautiful, like,
yeah,
right? When you it's like there's this perfection in the expansions and the contractions. You
yeah.
can't have the expansions without the contractions.
That's right. That's
You
right.
can't.
Yes, yes. I mean, but that's life for you, right? It constantly operates in duality, right?
Yeah.
Without the darkness, we can't have the light, right? Without the contraction, we can't have expansion. You need both of those things, right? But if you are paying attention and you sit with it, I promise you, God and the universe will deliver you the lessons,
Hmm.
and this moment is temporary. It's not forever, but it's what you do in the wait that matters. I heard that. I think my cousin said that to me last year. What you do in the wait matters. And so what I'm doing in this moment is just trying to make all that I'm going through matter for the greater good, and not just for me, right? I feel like my trials and tribulations are so much bigger than me. And I think that's one of the main reasons why I stepped into coaching is that this is bigger than me.
Yeah. How do you think this has or is like contributes to you as a coach?
Mhm. Mhm. Oh, absolutely. In a big way. I mean, I had a revelation earlier this year. I'd worked with a business coach for 4 months, and it was amazing, and it was exactly what I needed. But I came to this revelation about where I wanted to be in coaching and who I wanted to serve because I was still trying to figure out what that looked like exactly. And wasn't quite sure yet until I got to the end of my coaching engagement with her. And I realized that I want to step into trauma coaching.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where I feel called to serve. Like that's what like just saying that right now, I feel all the butterflies, right? Like I feel the fear behind it, but I feel the butterflies, right? As you call that, the sweet spot. And that's such a sweet spot for me. And that's where I feel like I'm supposed to place my energy.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. See, the little beauty in life.
Right? What if you could tap into the next great vision for your life? And I think we're starting to crack open to that. But if you could tap into that, what does that look like for you?
I believe she is just like one fearless human being. You know, over the past year, there's been so many blocks, so many hurdles. But I remember something that I wrote in practitioner's training. It was like our nature story, and
Mhm.
I titled it, I Am the Mountain. And every so often, I reflect back to those words that I wrote in that moment, what I felt in that moment, and how it serves me today, right? I'm a force. I am a force. And I say that with such great confidence. And I say that knowing that there's so much work for me to do. And as I'm cleaning out my emotional closet right now, that version of myself, holy shit, she's a badass. She's a badass.
You say that, and I can
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yes. And that's the
Yeah.
version. And I'm so excited to meet her. And I know it's coming.
Mm.
It's coming soon.
Mhm.
Yeah.
This work that this work the area, the niche that you feel called to coach in, who are you who are you feeling, because I do believe coaching is a calling.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It is a calling, it is a yearning. Most of us are born coaches. We just don't,
Know it?
we don't know what it is. We
Yeah.
don't know, right? We don't know what it is. We don't, but most of us are born with
Mm-hmm.
with these gifts, and we just need the right training to
Mm-hmm.
refine it and hone it. Tell me about the person that you are feeling called to support.
Mm-hmm.
People listening to this podcast might find themselves in that description. So I'm curious, who are they?
Yeah. And I love this question. It's something that my business coach had asked me, and it took me a long time to figure out who that person is. And then I had to use myself as like the avatar,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
That person is me, a woman of color, 40 and above, right? Or a person of color, 40 and above. There's such a need to serve my community specifically because there's so much trauma that is interwoven in my community, so many different aspects of trauma that don't get talked about, is not
Yeah.
supported. There's not enough resources, there's not enough people that look like me to support other people that look like me. And so that is the community that I feel very called to serve. But I mean, it's open to so many other people, but
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's where I feel called.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In your you so happy belated birthday, by the way,
Thank you, my
45.
love. Thank you.
Serena, what do you know now about yourself in your 40s that you
Mm,
didn't know in your 30s?
maybe it was more of a confirmation, right? Like an affirming. I've always known that I'm a pretty resilient person, but this year really tested my resilience, right? And sometimes you can fold, right? And I think it's okay to fold. I think it's necessary, but not quit, right? I have not given up on myself. And that is something that I learned stepping into 40, now being 41. And that resilience has carried me and has allowed me to navigate some really, really muddy waters at times. And so I am just leaning into that even more so. Like I know that even more now that I'm a
Mhm.
resilient person.
Mm. Yeah. So this love for music,
Hmm.
and so these two loves that you are now kind of expressing yourself in the world through music and coaching.
Yeah.
I'm so curious if you've ever considered merging the two in some way.
I get asked this question
Yeah,
all the time. And initially, I was running away from the idea of intersecting the two worlds. I think there was a need for me to have like a clean break from music
for
and
sure. Yeah.
step into coaching full time. and not allow the two worlds to cross, right? Then I started working with my business coach, and that came up several times. And again, I was still running away from it. I'm like, no, music is music, coaching is coaching. The two worlds do not collide. But then I had to go back to, but what do I know? What do I know? Music is something that I know through and through. I've done it for 32 years professionally. And so the people that I'm coaching now are music students.
Oh, fascinating.
Very, very fascinating. Very fascinating. When we talk about iterations, sometimes they don't look like the vision.
Oh, let's talk more about that.
Yeah, yeah.
Tell me more about that. I want to know more about that.
Yes. So, as I was saying, like there's been so many iterations over the last few years, especially this year, and finding that I can utilize my gift as a musician, as a singer, take all my knowledge. This is what I'm an expert in is music, right? Take all of that knowledge, apply what I learn in Mind Rebel and merging the two. And somehow I have found a way to make that very, very effective. I think it's improved who I am as a coach with my musical students. Um, Even my approach is different, right? I just don't have them start singing right away. I do a check-in with them. I'm like, how are
Yeah,
you? How are you showing up today? There's even a check-in with myself before I start my lesson. Like, where am
yeah,
I at emotionally? How do I get centered? How am I showing up in this lesson? So somehow, Taryn, I've been able to intersect the two worlds. Yeah.
wow,
Yes.
wow.
Unexpectedly so. Yeah. And it's been great.
So this unexpectedly so, this
Yeah.
sometimes we cast a vision
Hmm.
and we think, this is my way.
Yeah.
God, I have the way.
Yes.
Just bring me this and all will be well.
Yes.
And it just like what I love about what you just said is sometimes, and I think that's the whole concept between, yeah, have a bold dream,
Yeah.
but hold it loosely.
Yes. And be flexible.
Be
Yeah.
flexible,
Yeah.
because we don't have all the pieces of the puzzle.
That's right.
We have like a fraction of the vision in any given moment, but we don't have the full context. We don't
Yeah.
have the full perspective. We are not God. We
Yeah.
we are not, right? And so this, being open
Hmm.
to what what's actually being presented to
Hmm.
us
Hmm.
is so important.
Yeah, yeah, it really is. And just by you saying that, it reminded me of something that you talked about. And I don't know if it was in our discovery call or just in practitioners training, just hearing your journey into Mind Rebel, right? Creating this magical thing, but how that vision was so different initially.
Very
I think you
wildly
talked
different.
about I think you talked about writing a book, wanting
Yes.
to impact a million women,
Yeah.
right? And I remember that. And you thought it was going to be by way of a book. And then somehow Mind Rebel was birthed.
Mm-hmm.
And you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing it. And so I always go back to that, right? Hold the dream, but be flexible with the plan,
Yeah.
right? Because the goal is to serve people. That is my ultimate goal. How I get there is probably going to look differently.
Oh, Serena,
My love.
someone listening to this who is in the contraction of life right now, in the
Hmm.
grip, in the squeeze, in the contraction, in the muck. And we know when we're in the muck, it's almost like you can't see. It's foggy. You can't when we're thinking about our path, sometimes it's even hard to see like one foot in front of the other.
Hmm.
What words of wisdom would you like to offer someone who's listening to this and finds themselves there today?
Hmm. Hmm. I think the first word that comes to mind is the word tribe, right?
Mm.
I've had to lean on the people that I feel safest with the most and have them anchor me through this moment of contraction and implosion and falling apart. And being okay with saying, like, hey guys, today I don't have it in me. I don't have the bandwidth. I don't have the energy. I can't show up being my highest self today. and being okay with that and then leaving it there and knowing that you're safe in these moments. And so to anybody that is going through something similar right now, lean into people. Lean into people who are going to usher you through this moment.
Mm. Mm. One of the limiting beliefs I often have when I'm in a contraction is that it's a story that I am a nuisance to others,
Mm-hmm.
a nuisance. I am annoyance.
Mm-hmm.
My needing support
Mm-hmm.
is inconvenient for people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when I'm in a contraction, that's the lens. And so it's challenging to
Yes.
reach out for support.
Yes.
But what I know is that when someone in my circle, someone that is in my, immediate circle of influence reaches out to me for support,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I don't think there's everything melts. All my silly little problems of the day melt away. And here I am with this other human.
Mm-hmm.
How can I serve you? Like, how
Mm-hmm.
can I support you?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But we need to be served too.
Right. And
Yeah.
so I need to remember that,
Yeah.
that it feels so good to be on the receiving end of that,
Absolutely. Yes.
right? So
Yes.
that when I'm in my contraction, I have to call on that. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
it felt good to be on the receiving end of that. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not a nuisance.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And I share the same feelings. Those are things that I have thought of. I've talked myself out of reaching out to people several times over. I think that's why I got to a point of imploding, right?
Mhm.
Because I just realized I can't do it this way anymore.
Yeah.
I can't do it this way.
Yeah.
And so reaching out to people has felt good now. And being honest when people ask me, "How are you doing?" I'm okay. Because
Hmm.
that's an honest answer. It's an honest answer.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, I might be great, but in this moment, I'm okay. And not editing that in any way
Yeah.
to make others comfortable.
How can people learn more about you if they want to work with you?
Yes, you can reach out to me on Instagram. That's at Miss Serena Henry, Serena, Henry, Henry. And then you will find my coaching page, Intentional Roots. And you could just send me a message. I'd love to talk to whoever.
Beautiful. And I'm going to put all your links in the show notes so that people can have a direct link to reach out to you.
Thank you, my love.
Serena, thank you so, so, so much for your time, for sharing the pieces of your story. As always, you are an incredibly inspirational woman, and I just so enjoy being in this conversation with you.
Thank you, my love. Likewise. Thank you so much.
At the Mind Rebel Academy, we train and support world-class coaches and leaders. We believe that a person thriving inside of their life's work creates a ripple effect that will be felt for generations to come. If you have a yearning to more deeply impact those you love and serve, coaching can create a powerful outlet to step into your purpose. The MRA is wildly dedicated to our students and their potential. Becoming a coach is not something you do, it's someone you become. This is why we have designed our renowned ICF-accredited Mind Rebel Coach Training Series to be a unique blend of coach skills training and deep reflective self-discovery. The passion, integrity, and devotion that we bring to our programs creates an intimate, high-touch, and deeply transformative experience for our students. And to ensure that we maintain that level of service and support, our flagship coach training only begins once a year in the spring and is limited in size. Visit our website to learn more about our start dates and how you can apply to join at www.themindrebel.com. This is so much more than a training. This is your legacy.